Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going way back to 2014
Oh, yeah.
to revisit a moment that, well, it really did aim to break the internet. Kim Kardashian's Paper magazine cover.
That's right.
Do you remember that? It feels like a lifetime ago now.
It does, yeah, but also I feel like it's one of those things that has just stuck with us.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what's interesting about it is thinking back to the internet back then. And just the idea that something could actually break the internet. Like we thought about it so differently back then.
Yeah, I mean, now it's like, can anything really break the internet?
Right, exactly.
But back then, it felt like a real possibility, and this cover
yeah,
really did push those boundaries. I mean, we'll get into the numbers later, but just the sheer amount of attention it got, the conversation it sparked, it really felt like a turning point.
Absolutely. And I think, you know what's really interesting is that back then, Kim, she was a reality TV star, but her influence was nothing like what it is now.
Right. Her reach was totally different back then. I mean, just imagine trying to sell out a fashion collection with just an Instagram post back in 2014.
Oh my God, no way.
No, it was a completely different landscape. She was newly married to Kanye. She had North.
Yeah.
But the KKW beauty empire skims, all of that was still years away.
Right. So this cover was almost like a calculated move.
I think so, yeah. It was a strategic way to elevate her image and reach a much wider audience.
Okay, so let's actually talk about the cover itself. Because visually, there's a lot going on there.
Definitely.
You know, you've got Kim, and it's this very, like, classic old Hollywood glam.
Right, the pearls, the satin gloves.
Yes, exactly. Like, very elegant, very polished. But then, of course, there's the bare backside, and that just creates this incredible contrast.
Yeah, it was bold. It was unexpected. And honestly, I think it was pretty brilliant in terms of just grabbing attention.
And it really did. And then, of course, you can't ignore the giant break the internet text right there on the cover.
Right, front and center.
Yeah, it's like they were daring people to look away.
Totally. And I think it's important to mention the photographer here, Jean-Paul Goude, because he's known for this very provocative style he's always played with, celebrating. And some would argue objectifying the female form. And this cover definitely falls within that conversation.
For sure. And we'll definitely get into those conversations later on. But, you know, we can't just talk about the controversy. We have to talk about the numbers, too, because the impact was undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
So the day after the cover launched, Paper Magazine's website, traffic, basically accounted for 1% of all U.S. web browsing.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy? 1 out of every 100 people online in the entire country was looking at this cover.
It's mind-boggling when you think about how much smaller the internet was back then.
Right.
I mean, this was before we had, you know, TikTok and Instagram Reels going viral.
Yeah.
This was early meme culture.
Right.
The internet was still kind of figuring itself out. But this cover really fueled that meme machine. I mean, remember the Ellen and Portia Christmas card spoof?
Oh, yeah, of course.
It became iconic instantly, and it's all thanks to this image and all the parodies and the jokes. It just solidified its place in internet history.
And you know what's funny is that no one really tried to directly recreate the oil-slicked look from that cover.
No.
But that pose, the bare backside, that's something we've seen echoed a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where it gets really interesting because last year, Kendall Jenner posed for a Jacquemus campaign. And guess what?
Okay.
Bare backside, same pose, but completely different styling. Very festive, less overtly glam.
So was that intentional? Was that an homage?
I mean, you can't deny that the Kardashians understand how to play the internet.
Oh, they know what they're doing?
They built an empire on understanding trends and branding. So it's definitely possible. And whether it was intentional or not, it speaks to the power of that original image and its lasting influence even within the family.
I mean, they really are masters. Adapting and evolving while still staying true to their core brand, which is like pushing boundaries, grabbing attention, and making sure everyone is talking about them.
Exactly. And speaking of grabbing attention, let's not forget about the Met Gala looks.
Oh, yeah.
Every year, they create these buzzworthy moments that dominate the internet.
Like a tradition now.
It is. It's like they've taken that break the internet energy and turned it into an annual event.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think this all goes back to the power of this one image. It wasn't just about breaking the internet in terms of traffic. It was about breaking the mold. It was a declaration like the Kardashians are here to stay, and they're not afraid to shake things up.
Yeah, and that disruption is still felt today. I mean, they've diversified, they've built businesses, but they've never lost that willingness to push the envelope to make a statement.
Okay, so we've talked about the backstory, the visuals, the immediate impact.
Yeah.
But what about the long-term legacy of this cover? Because it's been 10 years, and it's clear that its influence goes way beyond just a few days of internet frenzy. It sparked these bigger conversations about body image, female sexuality, the power of celebrity, the evolving nature of the internet itself.
It's a lot to unpack. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, and I think it's interesting to think about how this cover fits into those larger cultural conversations that were happening at the time.
Oh, totally.
You know, we were right on the cusp of what some people call the body positivity movement becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
And this cover, with its celebration of Kim's curves, it really sparked a lot of debate.
For sure. Like, was it empowering?
Yes.
Was it objectifying?
Right, exactly. And it's interesting how those interpretations have kind of shifted over the past decade.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we talk about body's beauty and a woman's right to express her sexuality has evolved so much, even in just 10 years. So this cover almost serves as a marker of where we were in those conversations back then.
It's like a snapshot in time. And it makes you wonder, how will we look back at this image another 10 years from now? 20 years from now.
Exactly. Like, will our interpretations continue to evolve?
Right. Because things change so quickly.
They do. It's the beauty of revisiting these moments. It's not just about nostalgia. It's about understanding how our perspectives change over time.
Okay, so we can't talk about this cover without talking about the Kardashians themselves.
No, of course not.
Because this moment played a huge role in solidifying their brand and their business savvy.
Absolutely. It positioned them as like cultural forces to be reckoned with. They showed the world that they could command attention, generate buzz-spark global conversations.
And they capitalized on that.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Think about all the businesses they've launched since then. Beauty lines, shapewear apps.
It's an empire.
It really is. It's an empire built on their image and their ability to connect with audiences online.
And, you know, it's almost like they predicted the rise of influencer culture before it even existed.
That's true.
They understood that in the digital age, attention equals currency.
Yeah.
And they've turned that attention into a global brand.
It's kind of mind-blowing, honestly.
Yeah.
And you can't help but admire their hustle, even if you're not necessarily a fan of everything they do.
It's a masterclass in entrepreneurship, plain and simple.
Right.
They've shown the world how to build a brand in the age of social media.
And they're not afraid to take risks, push boundaries.
Oh,
yeah. It's like they know that any press is good press.
Which, in the world of online fame, is often true.
So true.
They've mastered the art of staying in the conversation, even if it means stirring up some negative headlines along the way.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to this cover and the power of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about breaking the internet in terms of traffic. It was about breaking the mold.
Right.
Breaking expectations, establishing themselves as forces to be reckoned with.
And it's a disruption that continues to this day. I mean, they've evolved, they've diversified.
But they've never lost that core element of boldness, of pushing the envelope. And they've managed to stay relevant for over a decade.
Yeah.
Which is no small feat in the world of online fame.
It really makes you think about how much the internet has changed even in the past 10 years.
Well, absolutely.
This idea of breaking the internet, like, what does that even mean anymore?
Right.
We're bombarded with so much information.
Constantly.
So many viral moments every single day.
Yeah, it's like the internet itself has become unbreakable.
Right.
The goalposts have shifted. What once seemed groundbreaking now feels almost commonplace.
So what does it take to really capture the world's attention in today's online landscape?
Yeah.
What will be the next Kim Kardashian breaks the internet moment?
That's a great question.
What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I think the key now is authenticity.
Yeah.
In a world where everything feels so staged, so filtered,
Yeah.
it's those raw, unfiltered moments that really resonate.
That makes a lot of sense. People crave realness, something that cuts through all the noise. It makes them feel something genuine.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond shock value and manufactured virality and tapping into something deeper, something that connects with people on a human level.
It's like the internet has come full circle. We started with this desire to break it, to overwhelm it with sheer force.
Yeah.
And now maybe the real way to break the internet is to connect with it authentically.
I like that.
To use it to build real human connections.
And perhaps that's the most impactful way to leave a lasting legacy online.
Yeah.
Not by generating the most clicks or likes, but by truly touching people's hearts and minds.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's a reminder that even in this age of algorithms and viral trends, the human element is what really matters.
Absolutely. And you know what? That human element is what we see in this cover. It sparked conversations, it challenged norms, it made people feel something whether they loved it or hated it.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
So we've talked about the impact of this image on the internet and pop culture. But let's bring it back to Kim herself.
Okay.
Because this cover wasn't just a publicity stunt.
Right.
It was a statement about her own evolving image.
Absolutely. It marked a turning point in her career.
Right.
She went from being a reality TV star to a cultural icon.
Right.
Someone who could command the world's attention and dictate her own narrative.
And she did it by embracing her body, her sexuality, and her own unique brand of confidence. It was a bold move, and it definitely paid off.
It challenged those traditional notions of beauty and success, and paved the way for a new generation of women who are unafraid to be themselves, curves and all.
And that's definitely something worth celebrating.
For sure.
Kim, love her or hate her, has undoubtedly left her mark on the world.
And she did it on her own terms, which is maybe the most empowering message of all.
So let's talk about the legacy of this cover, because 10 years later, it's clear that its impact goes way beyond just a few days of internet buzz. It sparked conversations about body image, female sexuality, the power of celebrity, and the ever-evolving nature of the internet itself.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much this one image sparked all these different conversations.
It's like this ripple effect.
Yeah, and it just shows that even these moments in pop culture that might seem fleeting at the time, they can have such a lasting impact.
They really can, and it makes us think more critically about the images we see, the narratives we're buying into.
Totally, and I think, this cover, it's almost like a time capsule. It's not just of Kim's image back then, but also of our collective fascination with celebrity with the internet.
Yeah.
And this kind of blurring of the lines between the two.
For sure, and it would be so interesting to see how different generations interpret this image.
Oh, totally.
Imagine showing this to someone who was 10 years old back in 2014.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Their understanding of the internet and what it meant to break it would be completely different.
Totally different, like what was shocking and groundbreaking back then.
Might seem almost quaint now.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what moments from today's internet culture will still be talked about in 10 years.
Right. It's impossible to predict.
It really is.
But that's what makes it so fascinating.
It does. So before we wrap up,
I
have to ask, what's your biggest takeaway from revisiting this whole Kim Kardashian breaking the internet phenomenon?
For me, it's a reminder that there's always more to the story than meets the eye. Even something as simple as a magazine cover can have so much meaning, so much controversy, so much cultural significance.
That's true.
It's a reminder to look deeper, to question assumptions, and to consider all the different perspectives.
Yeah, and this cover is the perfect example of that.
Totally.
It sparked all these conversations about body image, gender roles, the power of the media, the way women choose to express themselves.
And it proves that we can learn and find meaning in the most unexpected places.
That's true. So to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has given you something to think about. Maybe you'll see that paper magazine cover a little differently now.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll start noticing how today's internet trends are shaping the world around us.
The key is to stay curious, engaged, and never stop questioning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into Kim Kardashian's internet-breaking moment.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those brains buzzing big.